welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. This is my little platform where I turn struggling math students into maths masters. And I haven't posted a video in such a long time, and as most of you would know by now, is because I wrote a maths lit paper 1 and paper 2 guide, which I will make available for you guys very soon. So I decided I want to post a couple of videos to help you guys prepare for the prelim exams. So I'm going to be posting some short videos on my TikTok, on my Instagram, and on my Facebook accounts. And then I'm also going to be hosting a paper 1 workshop this Saturday coming, and next weekend Saturday a paper 2 workshop where I spend 2 hours just going through different types of questions of past papers, and then just teaching you how to reason your way through these questions, and how to just teach you strategies on how you can answer these types of questions to make sure that you maximize your marks. So if you're interested in those classes, you can email me to mathsmonkeyhelp@gmail.com, and then in the description just write revision 2025 or whatever year you're watching this video in. So in this specific video, I'm going to be teaching you about banking fees, and this is really a combination of financial documents and tariff systems merging together, all under the topic of finance, right? And then I'm going to work through a past paper to really show you how you would go about answering these types of questions. And as per usual, I like to start the video with going through the basic understanding, and then we go through questions on how you can apply that. So without further ado, let's jump into this video. Okay, so we are looking at banking fees, as I mentioned, and as per usual, I'm going to be sharing with you all sort of like the information that you need to understand, or your baseline understanding, in order for you to know how to do the calculation. So what is it that you need to know for the section? So the first understanding that is required for this topic is, one, you need to understand that a personal bank account, right, is an account that an individual uses to receive money and to make payments. Okay, so this is the place where they house their money. The money that's coming in comes from this account, the money that's going out comes from this account. So that's what a personal bank account is. Second thing you have to know is, for this bank account, whenever you make payments, there's a card attached to the account. And this is the card that you'll see people going to the grocery store, swiping or tapping, etc. This card is linked to the bank account. So this card is sort of like the access to the money that's in the account. Then we have a bank statement, right? So you'll get a bank statement from the bank, and the bank statement ultimately lists all the transactions that takes place in the account over a specific time. So the bank statement ultimately is telling you what money is coming into the account and what money is going out. And that's ultimately all that can happen in a bank account and in a bank statement, is that there's either money coming in or there's money going out. Right, then lastly, for most of the transactions, so when money comes in or when money goes out, for most of the transactions, there are banking fees charged by the bank. So for every deposit, or if you go to the ATM and you withdraw the cash, the bank will then give you a specific charge. So not only do you have a bank account where money is coming in and money is going out, but also there's charges attached to whatever transactions is taking place. So this is ultimately the baseline understanding that you need to have for this section. Right. So we are obviously going to move now to answering an exam type question, and this exam type question is based off of bank statements. So I'm going to remove my face here so that you can actually see. Okay, all right, so let's have a look at this. So the question essentially tells you that on the left hand side is a bank statement, and on the right hand side is how the bank charges for this money, for these transactions. Okay, what the monetary charge is for the transactions, right? So let's just quickly study these, and then we'll actually jump into the questions. So on the left hand side, let's make sure we understand So this falls under financial documents, a bank statement, right? In the first column, you have the date. This is the date of which the transaction has taken place. Then the second one would be your description. Now, in this column, will tell you exactly what has taken place, what money has come in, what money has gone out, and from where. Then the first column, the debit column, right? The first column that lists the monetary values, that is all the money that is leaving your account. So remember, the debit column will be money that's actually going out of the account. The credit column is now money coming into your account, right? And then we have at the bottom, there's a hashtag. It says transactions for which banking service fees are charged. So this ultimately is telling you that all of the values that you see with hashtags, these values are going to be, there's a banking charge attached to that transaction. Okay, so remember I said in the beginning, some transactions you pay for and some you don't have to pay for. So they're basically telling you with the hashtags that these are the ones that the customer has to pay for, or the account owner has to pay for. Right, then on the right hand side, we have the banking tariffs for how they bill their account users. Right, so in the left column again, we have what the transaction is. So we've got cash deposits, cash withdrawals, and then payments. And then we have a transaction account, which is the first type of an account. And then the second plus account. So these are two different types of accounts, but from the same bank, right? And then if you have a transact account, which this person has, the transact account, this is how they, this is the column where this is how they plan on charging them for whatever transactions take place. And then on the right hand side is a different type of account called the plus account, right? So ultimately what you must understand, now this is where, you know, whenever you get a question, you must make sure you read all the information first so that you get an understanding of what information is being given to you, and then you go to the questions. So to summarize, on the left hand side, I have a bank statement. This tells me all the money going in and out of my account. And on the right hand side is how the bank plans to charge me for all of those transactions, or charge this person for all of those transactions. Right. Now we're going to be looking at the questions, and then I'll bring you back to this page. So the first question says, verify showing all calculations whether the total banking service fees for October as shown on the statement is correct. Right? So now I'm going to need to go back and forth because all the information couldn't fit on one page. But they say we have to show that this value over here, that total banking service fee over here, right, which is this, we have to prove that that is actually the correct charge for all of the transactions that have taken place during this time period. Okay, so let's first just study and have a look at all the transactions that are taking place and maybe group them so that you can see which ones are like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a highlighter, right? And let's see, can I choose different colors here? I'm going to take an orange highlighter and I'm going to look at all of the hashtags that is a debit order, right? So the debit order is this, right? I'm highlighting this because it's got a hashtag and that's going to be charged. The second one, the one after that isn't. And then the third one, again, we have another debit order. And then, so I'm literally just highlighting all of the hashtags where the transactions are the same, right? So this is debit order, right? So again, debit order is when money is taken from your account from a service provider, right? So this is debit order. Okay, I think that's all the debit orders. Then the next type we have here is the branch cash deposit. So this is money that's being put into the account, right? So I'm going to highlight that. And you'll see now why. So this is basically, I'm showing you what I would have done if I was actually in an exam situation to just make sure I understand what is actually happening here. Then the next one, I will look at all the, okay, this is an ATM cash withdrawal. This also has a hashtag next to it. So again, I'm just highlighting all of the information that's going to be charged 4, right? So everything that I've highlighted, you will notice has a hashtag, okay? And the different colors just represents the different types of transactions. So I've highlighted all the ATM cash withdrawals in blue, and then the branch cash deposit I highlighted in green, and then all the debit orders I've highlighted in orange. Right, so ultimately what we need to do now is we need to calculate and work out, is the value, the 167 over here, right? Is this value the correct value, right? The correct value that they charged based off of their tariff systems over here and the transactions that have been given over here. So let's study how are they planning on charging this. And again, I'm going to color code this to show you, to make this easier for you to understand. So here we have, it says debit order. So I go down to my different types of transactions. And what I notice here is that here I've got how they pay for the debit order. Now, I didn't add the initial information. So this person is ultimately using the Transact account. That was the information that was given. Okay. So in this case, the debit order is 12 Rand per debit order. Then we have the cash branch cash deposit. So I go up to deposits, which is over here. At branch, right, this is how much they're going to charge. Okay, and then if I look at just the normal the ATM cash withdrawals, right? If I look at the ATM cash withdrawals, I go to withdrawals and I see at Fans Bank ATM, this is 3 Rand 50 plus 1 Rand 10 plus 1.10% of the value of withdrawal. Right. So now we get a clear understanding of what transactions is going to be paid for and how the bank charges for those specific transactions. And now we can do the calculation to see, is that 167.75 the correct value? Okay, so that's ultimately what we're doing. So I'm going to add this calculation now to the next page. Right. So let's do this. Let me just change this to a pen now. And I'm going to say, okay, question 1. So the first thing we're going to look at is let's try to do the debit orders. So the debit orders here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 debit orders. And each debit order is charged at 12 Rand per debit order. So I'm going to say 12, right, multiplied by 5, okay? So this is for the debit orders. So I've got, let me just take my calculator out quickly. Right, so we've got 12 multiplied by 5 will give us 60 Rand. And this is for our debit orders. Right? That was fairly easy. And pay attention to the fact that this debit order tariff doesn't mention anything about how much is debited. Right? So it doesn't depend on the how much, it just is just dependent on the fact that it is a debit order. Right, then we have the branch cash deposit, which is 4,500. And so what do they say? They say it's 11 Rand plus 1.35% of the value that has been deposited. So I've got 11 plus 1.35 divided by 100 times 4,500. And that will give me 71 Rand and 75 cents. Okay, so now for the ATM cash withdrawals, we have 4 cash withdrawals of 500 Rand each, and each of them is going to be charged at 3 Rand 50 plus 1.10% of the value of the withdrawal. So let's do this calculation now. So now I know it's 350. So I've got 3 Rand 50, right? And I go plus 1.0 over 100 multiplied by 500. Okay, so this is 3.50 plus 1.1 divided by 100 times 500. And I end up with 9 Rand. But now this is for one cash withdrawal. And we have 4 of the same amount. So I can just take this 9 and multiply it by 4, right? And that will give me 36. So what am I left with? So in total, so what I've basically done here is, so these are for my ATM withdrawals. Okay, and now I've literally have a value for each of them. So all that I'm left to do now is to actually add these values together. So I'll go, okay, 60 is for the debit orders. So the total equals 60 plus the 71.75, and then it is plus 36. Okay, and now we can see 60 plus 71.75 plus 36, and my answer is 167 and 75 cents. Now I go back to see, is that what they charged? That's exactly the amount in red, right? So I know that this question is correct. But let's make sure we answer the question. It says verify, showing all calculations whether the total banking service fee for October as shown on the statement is correct. So please remember, whenever it's a verification question, you have to say yes, the value is correct. Okay? You actually have to give a verification there. All right, and there you will have, just pay attention to how much marks that is. That's literally a 9-mark question. Okay, which I don't think is very difficult, but it can be very tricky to sort of miss things. Okay, and this is also another reason why I always tell my students, like, take highlighters with you so that you can highlight the important things. As you can see, the highlighting has just made this entire section a lot more easier to understand and easy to find the values that you are looking for. Okay, so that's the first question. Let's go to question number 2. Question 2 says, the client stated, I am paying more than 3 times the minimum monthly service fee for banking fees for this account. Verify the validity of her statement. So what she's saying is the 167.75 that she's paying is 3 times more the minimum monthly service fee. So let's look at, where is the minimum monthly service fee? Here it is. Okay, that's the value, the minimum. So she's saying that she's paying 3 times more, and we have to show you that's the truth. Right, so what she's actually saying is that what she is paying, right, which is the 167, is 3 times more the minimum monthly service fee. So the minimum monthly service fee is 53, right? And she's saying that she's paying 3 times more than 3 times more. Let's calculate what is 3 times more. So 3 times more is 159. Is she paying more? She's paying 167.75. So her statement is valid. Okay. That is 3 marks there, 2 mark, 1 mark for the calculation, 1 mark for the answer, and then 1 mark for the justification. Again, I want to remind you, if it says verify, please make sure that you actually give a conclusion to your answer. Right. Now we're on question 3. So it says here, the client used her cash withdrawal amounts to pay for her weekly expenses for airtime, petrol. Sorry, no, I skipped the question here. Calculate the client's total banking service fees using her October statement if she had a plus account. So over here, we have a plus account, right? So we've been using the transact account, and if she uses the plus account, the question is asking what would a bill have been, right? So if we look at how the plus account is set up, you firstly have to pay a mandatory 104 Rand as a monthly fee, right? So let's add that. That's 104. We're now calculating what her expenses, what her cost would be if she used this account. So she would have to pay that 104. Then we look at where it says at the branch. We now know that she made, how many? She made 1 cash deposit. And on the left here, it says maximum 2 free transactions. So for that transaction in green, she wasn't charged anything. Right? Then we go again and we look at all of the blue values, where she's got 4 transactions of 500 Rand each. Again, it says that this bank allows you 8 transactions for free. And because she has 4 transactions, again, she doesn't get charged for this. And then the last one now is we have debit orders. And what does it say here? Unlimited free transactions. Unlimited free transactions. So if there was debit orders for all of the debit orders, again, it would be free. So her total amount, had she just been working with the, what's it called, the plus account, then she would actually have paid 104 Rand for that month and for those transactions, right? So it says here, so let's just read the question. I always say, read the question at the start of your question, and once you've answered it, read it again to make sure you've given the answer in the way that they've asked. So it says, calculate the client's total banking service fee using her October statement if she had a plus account. So I've just showed that her fee would be 104 Rand, which is ultimately cheaper. Okay. Now, in case you're confused by how many questions and which question I'm reading, guys, just have a look at the mark allocation, right? So this 9 marks is for this first question. This 3 marks is for the second question. This 3 marks is for the third question. And now we're by question number 4. Okay, so question 4 says, the client used her cash withdrawal amounts to pay for her weekly expenses for airtime, petrol, electricity, and meals. Suggest 2 cost-effective ways that she could use to save on cash withdrawal fees. So they basically asking you, give 2 ways in which she could have saved, or she can save on cash withdrawal fees. Okay, so now let's quickly study and have a look here. So if we look at the cash withdrawal payments, you'll see there that because she withdrew 4 times, do you agree that she is paying this 350 4 times? However, had she made 1 complete withdrawal, right? 1 complete withdrawal, then she actually could have saved on paying the 350 every single time. Okay, so just take a moment. So for this 500 Rand, she paid 350 plus the 1.1%. And then for this one, she paid the 350 again, etc. However, if she had drawn the entire 2,000 at once, do you see that they would just have calculated and given her that expense of 350 once, and then added the 1 Rand 10 cents of the remaining balance, right? So that's one way she could save, is if she actually withdraws all of the money together as opposed to withdrawing it in increments every time. So that's the one way she could have saved money. The second way is that she could actually have made these payments with a debit card purchase, because they don't charge for debit card purchases. Right, so these are just 2 ways in which that she could have actually saved. So how would I write this now? So I would say number 1, she could withdraw all the money at once. She could withdraw all the money at once and only pay the, how much was it? The 350 once. She could also pay these with a debit card. With her debit card, she could also pay these with her debit card, which incurs no cost. Okay, and that is ultimately how you would approach banking fees type question, right? Paying attention to the tariffs, paying attention to when money is coming in and when money is going out, and then trying to reason your way around these questions based off of all the information that's given to you. All right, there's that video. Hopefully you found it helpful, and if you did, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you have any questions, you can add it in the comment section below. And remember, if you want to join my prelim exam classes, you can just email me to mathsmonkeyhelp@gmail.com, and in the description write revision 2025 or whatever year you're watching this in. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.